Hi, Dr. Marcia Sirota here, and today I want to talk about doom scrolling, especially doom scrolling all the bad news about the Ukrainian invasion. You know, it's really important that we stay informed about current events because, we want to be able to do good things. We want to be able to help the people in the Ukraine, maybe to contribute to charity or do some kind of volunteer work or something positive to help those who are affected. On the other hand, we don't want to be so drowning in bad news that we become overwhelmed and shut down. So the news is quite dire, of course, back in the Ukraine, and people are suffering a lot. And of course, on the Russian side, there are horrible threats of nuclear annihilation and, just really bad things. So if we are spending a lot of time doom scrolling, we can just go down that rabbit hole and become very anxious, very depressed, and we can start noticing symptoms of stress like poor sleep, being irritable, having changes in our appetite, having changes in our mood. We can start ingesting substances to self-soothe, or overeating, or spending too much money to distract ourselves. There are lots of ways that the stress can manifest. So doom scrolling is a compulsive behavior, like any addictive kind of thing. And what it comes from is this part of our brain that releases dopamine. And the dopamine makes us crave more. It gives us a little hit of thrill when we do it, and then we crave more. So we look at some distressing content, we get that little hit of dopamine, and then we get more craving, and then we do it again, and then we get more of a hit of excitement, and then we have more craving. And that's what doom scrolling does. So it affects our addictive center in the brain in the same way as cocaine or sugar or any other kinds of addictive behaviors. So doom scrolling can be an addictive behavior just like any other. And so we have to be very careful about it, because every time we see something sensational or read something sensational, we can get that hit of dopamine and be inclined to pursue more information for hours on end and just become more and more stressed and distressed, and really notice it in our functioning at work, in our personal relationships, and just in our overall well-being and happiness. It's really important that we balance getting the information that we need and not being so overwhelmed by the negativity. The problem with getting our information online as opposed to watching the news is that the news is a finite show. We turn it on, it goes for a certain period of time, and then it stops. Whereas when we're online, we can click on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and we can stay on forever. We can stay on indefinitely. So it's really dangerous if we don't set proper limits on the time that we spend looking at things. And of course, there's no filter and there's no fact checking in online news. So whereas on the TV news or the radio news, they have fact checkers making sure that the information they're feeding us is reliable and factual. And they also have filters not to show us things that are overly distressing. None of those things exist online. So we can see really distressing images, and we can read things that have nothing to do with the truth. And of course, both of those things can make us more upset. So we have to, number one, take the news that we get online with a grain of salt, and maybe rely more on news that are truly reputable. There are certainly online sources that we can trust compared to some others. So we should be more diligent in where we get our news. And also we need to protect ourselves from images that will be too distressing, because there's no benefit in viewing things that are just going to upset us and we can't do anything about it. So much of what's going on around this war is that we feel very helpless and overwhelmed. So we don't need to take in more images and more content that will make us that much more distressing and overwhelmed. Doom scrolling is an obsessive behavior. It's an obsessive behavior like any other obsessive behavior. And if we continue to do it, we become more and more upset. We have to be very mindful about the ways that we take in news these days. Make sure that we see reputable, fact-based news. Make sure we time it so that we're not just doing it ad infinitum, and make sure that we avoid things that are going to be overly distressing. And in that way, we can be informed, we can do good things for the people who are being affected in Ukraine, and we can also protect our emotional and mental well-being. I'm Dr. Marcia Sirota, talking to you today about doom scrolling and the importance of not doing that in order to protect your emotional and mental well-being. Stay tuned for more videos, and be well.